Anything that people want to add to the agenda? I mean, we'll have an open forum at the end, but if there's anything specific for the agenda?
Well, just mentioning, in January meeting, we'll be having some folks from Huntington Bank coming and to talk about some new things. And we'll be talking more of the Coda Plus project is underway down here. And we have a meeting next. Lisa and I will be at related to the small business agenda. So we may more about 2021 plans.
Okay, great. Well,
And
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Introduce our topic and our speaker, please.
Yes, we're very happy this morning to have Amy McCormick with us. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
And she is with her. And this seemed like a good time to talk about, the Parsons Avenue store in particular. Store with trouble a couple of years ago. And I could ask folks please to mute if you're not talking. That would be helpful. Got some background here. The Parsons Avenue store was some trouble, and a number of us been trying to figure out ways to be helpful there. Meanwhile, COVID came and had impact, and we just like to talk about sort of the state of the store and what's happening there, and also with the fact that Giant Eagle is going to be shutting down their site. Opportunities for Kroger and for IGA. I should mention that I invited Mike Little from the IGA store here, and he was interested. But it's interesting. Since COVID, one of the biggest impacts COVID has had on the IGA store is that their business is going crazy. And he said, I just don't have time. But he commented that they are having trouble finding workers for the store. So one of the things, Amy, I'm curious about is just any thoughts that you have about how COVID has affected your store and things like that. So why don't we just have a dialogue here, and I'll turn it over to Amy.
All right. Well, kind of two stories there. So I'll start and just give an update on Parsons Avenue store. As Bob mentioned, I was thinking about it this morning, and it's hard for me to believe that in February of next year, it will have been 2 years ago that I welcomed members of the community, elected officials, and anyone who really has a vested interest in our Parsons Avenue store to meet me at the store, and walked them around, showed them basically what we had done inside the store. And that kind of activity and us doing that generated from when we closed our Northern Lights store. Members of the community, elected officials had really said, hey, we need more notice. That is not something typically that Kroger does. And there's a lot of reasons, we won't go into all of that, but what we decided to do with Parsons was a little different and be very transparent. So we did what we were asked. When we look at a failing store and we say, okay, what do we need to do? We don't just decide not to keep operating. That's not what we're in the business of doing. So we have a lot of things that we do within the four walls of the store. We have marketing and things that we do to connect with the community and bring them in. I know Curtis mentioned earlier, we need to do a better job. If you don't shop with us, you're going to get certain messages versus those who do shop with us. So if you're not seeing that, let's talk, Curtis. But from there, I would say we welcomed people in, and we showed them what we were doing to try to turn things around at that particular store. Put a lot of onus to our store department leaders, allowing them to make some changes that we don't always do in stores. They're able to, from product offerings to the way in which they go about merchandising within their departments. So a lot of changes, we were able to share that information. We had planned to give it about a year and then come back and review and kind of say, okay, what are next steps? And then be, again, very transparent on what we were going to do. And as Bob mentioned, as you all know, around that year timeframe, COVID happened, and we had a lot of other things to worry about. And I will say, anytime someone asks right now, okay, how is the store doing, going on almost 2 years, where we were very transparent that it had lost over $5 million over the course of the past 5 years, you kind of think of a wound and you put a Band-Aid on it. I will say the store team is extremely excited that they have made progress. We are using a smaller Band-Aid, but we still have a long way to go in the particular area of the store relative to, generating, sales and other things that come with being profitable. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. I continued to have dialogue. I'm on the board of the City of Columbus and Franklin County Local Food Action Plan. We have continued dialogue relative to that particular location, and then other locations that we have that we're trying to work with and work on. I'll just kind of open it up at that point. I can tell you that, we haven't righted the ship. It's a big ship, but we are making progress.
Well, progress is good, certainly. How has COVID affected the operations of that store? And what do you think will happen as we emerge from COVID in 2021?
Well, Parsons falls right in line with all of our stores. We are feeding people and we're serving the community. Since March, we've implemented numerous, I know it's over 30 policy and process changes, really, and that's solely for safeguarding the health and well-being of not only our associates, but our customers. I mean, everything from cleaning the commonly used areas more often, your self-checkout stands, credit card terminals, conveyor belts, food service counters, you name it. We were always cleaning them, but there's an additional level and timed cleaning that we're doing. We've added, the plastic partitions between our cashiers and our customers there, and other service areas, and in the pharmacy. We are obviously following all required mask mandates or facial coverings. We have hand sanitizer available for all of our associates, allowing opportunities for our associates to, step away, wash hands more frequently. We have disinfectant at the front of the store for cart cleaning. And I think, you mentioned staffing. Well, one thing that's very different too is limiting our capacity. So when you think fourth quarter is what we're in right now, and the holidays, it's our time. So we are operating at 50% building capacity. So as we get into the holidays, we are starting to see a few stores here and there who are having to queue and ensure that we are holding to that 50% capacity. Again, I could go on and on about all the processes and things that we're doing in the store to keep everyone safe. But you talked about staffing. So we have expanded our contact-free payment solutions like Scan Bag Go. We have Kroger Pay, but then also e-commerce. E-commerce business is it's just amazing. Our first quarter results, we were about 92% ahead in e-commerce business. And then we were about 127% out at the end of quarter two, and we'll report third quarter earnings tomorrow. So planning to see another large increase in e-commerce, and that's truly where we have a need for associates. So I just shared out last week with media, we're looking to hire about 1,000 associates in the Columbus division. Columbus division is 115 stores, so it encompasses all of the Central Ohio locations. And I would say over half of that 1,000 is solely for our Kroger pickup.
Okay. So something for Amy, for you to be aware of, maybe there could be a conversation there, is one of the people on the call this morning is Sarah.lenkay from Southside Thrive. He's there. And there's a lot of workforce development stuff that's going on down here. I think, I don't know, Sarah, if you wanted to say anything about that. I'm putting you on the spot. I can talk if you don't want to. But, oh, go ahead.
That's okay. Hi. And I used to work at Mid-Ohio Food Bank, Amy, so remember your board engagement there. And I'm glad that Bob organized this because I guess when it comes to workforce development opportunities, yes, we would love to help facilitate any connections for job opportunities between people in the South Side and Kroger's. We work with at least 6 different workforce development providers who offer training and job skill development and just try to make more connections to those employment opportunities. I was also thinking about, we have a new partnership with OSU Extension and offering really kind of a coaching development model, and they're interested in using, it's an evidence-based practice around coaching and really goal setting and looking at multiple factors of stability in someone's life. And we were recently talking about some of the young people who are working in the Kroger's on Parsons and how we might be able to engage them as well with some individualized coaching and just really support, knowing that many of them live in the neighborhood. I would be interested in following up and helping to, see if those connections can be made to support some of the young people who are working maybe in their first job at the Parsons Kroger as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely follow up with me. I do remember you. And I would be happy. I have Bob's email. I can send the release that we just did. And that would help if you want to share that out through the South Side and just letting people know that how they go about applying.
Yeah, if you send that, we'll spread the word there. And Sarah, I probably want to make sure you're connected with Mike Little from IGA as well, just because they are definitely having some challenges there in terms of finding staff. So,
okay.
What?
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you much, and thanks for letting me put you on the spot this morning, folks. What are your thoughts about the Parsons Kroger store, and do you have any suggestions or input or questions for Amy? And don't all pile up at once here. So.
I'm going to jump in. It's Kathy. I don't do the grocery shopping for our family. Mike does, and he's not here right in this minute. But his perspective on the Parsons Kroger is that their inventory management seems to be better than some other Krogers that he's been shopping at. That seems unintuitive to me, given that you probably use inventory management systems, but perhaps it's just a matter of stocking is slightly better. So that was one. And I think the other thing was just around produce selection, perhaps a little bit increase in the produce selection as the neighborhood evolves and the growth rates move up. Those are the 2 feedbacks that I've heard from him.
And I actually go to that grocery quite a bit now, since I've started acquiring properties on Parsons. I can tell you from a lot of people I talk to, there is still a perception issue with safety predominantly in the parking lot. I don't know how you can overcome that or what marketing you can do around it, but that is going to be a barrier to getting people that used to go to the Giant Eagle to come there instead of going over to Brewer's Yard. They just think it's not safe. I disagree. I feel fine. I use your gas station all the time, but it's a strong perception among area residents still. And then as a second note, like I said, as someone that's going to be redeveloping the overflow lots into some form of multifamily residential, are you the person I would reach out to discuss any development plans or potential letters of support, or what would be the best contact with Kroger?
So you could definitely start with me, and then I can, if you want to send me an email, I can get you connected to our real estate team. They would be the ones who would, they would coordinate with our team for any letters of support or anything that you might be doing.
Okay.
So I can definitely help guide that. And safety perception, completely understand. We work with our store team and have those conversations on, changing that perception with the consumer, and they have made progress. We do employ Columbus police there. We do not do that in all of our stores. It is a huge expense to the store, which obviously doesn't help when someone is struggling from a profit standpoint. But we recognize the need for as you mentioned, even just the marketing, them there does assist in that. But the produce selection, I'd love more specifics on maybe what you're thinking there. One of the areas of the store, almost 2 years ago that we did change up drastically was the produce department. We removed some commodities and then we added more to other areas and commodities. So I would love some additional feedback, not right now, but if you feel free to send me a message.
I'll have to get it from him separately.
Yeah, no, and then that's great information on inventory management. Obviously, that particular store is not utilizing pickup, but yet neighboring stores do. Pickup can drain on inventory. If you kind of envision, if you're ever at a store and you see that, that's one of the reasons we've partnered with Okada, and we're putting sheds up to solely do that particular method of shopping for the consumer. A fun fact, during COVID, we actually early on started testing, and we closed a store in Cincinnati and went solely pickup. So there's a lot of conversation on what that model looks like moving forward. When you see, I personally know people who have been, prior to March, completely against utilizing pickup. They want to go in the store and they want to shop. And now that they've said, I'm gonna do this because I want to limit my contact. I'm gonna give it a shot, and it's a game changer for a lot of people. And obviously, the percentages of increase that I shared earlier on e-commerce, there's a lot of people who will not go back to the way they used to shop. So we know we're going to see that continuation. So that's why those partnerships with Okada and others relative to kind of removing that shop from maybe a physical store, still being able to do that partnership is so important for us. But the inventory management, I appreciate hearing that. I'll let the store know they're doing a good job. We do have computer assisted ordering, but the computer assisted ordering doesn't know that there was going to be a snowstorm on early this week and things like that. So that's where we do need associates to guide that process. So those type of things are really important. So we may have a stronger lead in grocery and other areas of the business at Parsons than we have maybe if you're shopping a neighboring store. So that's good feedback for us to have. Thank you.
How hard is it to
on the? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, how hard is it to
Go ahead.
The ability for online ordering and pickup at a store? Just thinking, with Giant Eagle closing, maybe it's the time to capture some market share and make people realize that it's okay over there.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into whether a store has Scan Bag Go or whether a store has Kroger Pickup. A lot of it has to do space. We were just talking with some folks in Whitehall. We're not going to build across the street from where we had purchased the old Big Bear there. And one of the questions was, what about pickup? And unfortunately, the four walls, we can't go anywhere, and we can't. The particular, if we do that, we're going to take away commodities the customers are shopping. So space is always a factor. And then we also look at the overall business and how much we look at matrix throughout, the particular community, and whether we see a large, we think there would be a large e-commerce business in that particular area. But it is being looked at every single store.
Yeah, we do a mixture of both. I still like going in for maybe certain or something for the online order. It's I think this is the perfect time to be talking about this stuff, especially given that we likely in a few months, hopefully, will be emerging from the COVID stuff slowly. And as well, adjusting to, the Giant Eagle closing and the opportunity that presents. Certainly for a viable Parsons Avenue, and just this area in general, having you guys and the IGA store, be successful is very important. And I would think part of the key for that is stuff like this, and having you be visible in our community. I'm hopeful that the folks on the call here who maybe have never met you or talked that much or thought that much about the Parsons store, this is a chance to sort of spread the word, get the discussion going. And, we don't want a big hole on Parsons Avenue. We want to keep that store. There's a big investment there. And I remember when it was built, and we want to keep that store going and doing well. Other folks, any particular thoughts or things you want to discuss with Amy?
So Amy, I guess a question, and I think you might have done this 2 years ago when we met. Have you guys done any type of follow-up survey or asked the community? And I'm kind of saying this, that a lot of folks know that the Krogers exist, but then they don't. I don't know if it's just, it's not like it's some small little store or something hidden, but the feedback, not only to the crime issue, it's just the perception or the image of Kroger's at that location. People feel that, hey, I'll just go to Brewer's Yard because it's beautiful. They have the selection, they have the different things. So I guess my question is there things that you're missing in that store that would also drive folks to come to that store and purchase there versus going to, Brewer's Gate or something of that nature, of doing the survey? I think the other thing is, and this is something I live by, that it's great that you're the communications person and we see you pop up and everything, but I think one of the other driving things would be is for your regional president or someone in that stature to come in and say, hey, we understand that there's another store that's leaving the community, but Kroger is stepping up our game. We're interested. We want to know. We're going to be sending a survey out. We want to know what items we're missing, or we want to know what things. Now, give it certain things you might not be able to do, back to your thing about delivery and stuff if you don't have the space to do it. But I think that would be great feedback to your team and to the management team to say, hey, crap, we're missing 180 items. And these are really small little things does that do it? I know that you said that you went back to your team and asked them what items they would buy versus what items that you were carrying that didn't make sense. But I think that's the one thing. And then having your regional regional president be that focal point. I tell people a story. When I first came to Columbus in 91, I did all these interviews for Ameriflora, and one night in this club VIP, this person in back of me said, you're going to be a great CEO because you're just like me. And I was like, I know that voice from some reason. And it was Dave Thomas from Wendy's. And until 2 months prior to Dave passing away, he still went to stores. He still went and wiped tables off. So I think that's the message that I would send to your team, is have those people be visible. Reach out, to Kathy and say, hey, Kathy, our regional vice president of, whatever, or our CEO is going to be coming through for 15 or 20 minutes. He wants to see the store. Or she, you have a she or a male?
I have an entire executive leadership of all females.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. I couldn't remember. But again, have them show up and show that commitment, because I think that's part of that look and that feel. Not that they have to come down every day or something like that, but I think doing that and then getting with Sarah from her group and maybe start doing more of that community outreach, with her and with Nationwide Children's. I think you would get more respect, and I think more folks would, be willing to probably make that attempt to go into the store and see what's actually there or what's not.
Yeah, and you bring up some really good points. The first one I would preference is, when you talk about the perception, this is the, Parsons Merchant Association. So you are all merchants on Parsons Avenue. It's not a Kroger on Parsons perception. It is a Parsons perception. So I would ask that all of us collectively also think about what we can do to change that perception, because it's not just Kroger. the other piece, we do take a lot of feedback from our customers. We get daily feedback on register receipt tapes. We have other areas that prompt customers, especially those who are connecting with us on an online basis. There's lots and lots of feedback that we get. Everybody wants a Starbucks and sushi. And unfortunately, and I know, Curtis, we've had this conversation, you know, if I personally don't have money in my checking account, I can't go add those things. We are hopeful that we might see some additional business come our way when we see others, you know, departing the area. We're also being pretty realistic about it. I think there's a reason that someone else is leaving. So I'm not sure how much business there is there to get. We do have a plan to work to capture that business. And to your point, there'll be a lot of marketing and some really direct to customer marketing that we will be doing in the form of mailings and then again, online connections, because we're able to do that very centralized in the particular zip codes that are around the Parsons Avenue store. We do, you mentioned Brewer's Yard. We have some perceptions there also relative to some safety and things that we are working on there as well. You know, obviously that is a bigger box. We can't necessarily get bigger at Parsons, but we do have, we are taking a lot of that feedback. One of the things that we had planned to do, after, kind of marking that 1 year of letting the store kind of get into the community, and the store team is doing a great job. I know Janet talks with Bob a lot from our store, our Promise team, and that helps because she's able to go back and then kind of talk about what your team is doing with all of our associates in the store. But when we look at just the overall of the store, we had planned to kind of bring everybody back together and say, hey, you know, okay, how are we doing? And garner that feedback exactly like you're talking about. And unfortunately with COVID, you know, the way in which we would have done that, and just honestly having the capacity to be able to focus on that and that only right now was not something that we were able to do. But we do have plans. We're kind of getting into what we refer to as really our new normal, as everyone is, I would say, is calling it. And as we move forward, we will be having additional conversations regarding Parsons and then other stores as well.
I just wanted to add a comment.
I know, I'm sorry. I know I've really enjoyed attending your Promise team meetings, and it's been challenging because part of what we were trying to do is to get Kroger employees. You know, I think Curtis is right about getting the higher level management being more visible. That's a piece of this, and it's also an opportunity for some of the lower, you know, the regular employees being involved here and having a visible presence. And once our COVID hit without events to go to, it's been harder to do that, but that's going to change. That's going to change, and the opportunity is there. And you talk about the overall, you know, some of the perception issues of Parsons, and we are working on that. But one of the challenges too, and this is striking to me, even with some of the discussions about the Pizzuti project and about the hundreds of new residents that are going to be coming in to our area, you know, in the new development. This area is changing dramatically. And I think there's a real opportunity for Kroger on Parsons to do much better than it's been doing, if we can make that connection with them. And I think we just need to be creative. From that spirit, let me just thank you for being PAMA members, you know, this year. And we hope you continue, you know, next year. And I'm going to continue to figure out ways that we can work together and be more visible. Is your Promise team still meet? Because I haven't, you know, but just internally, or what's the status of that?
Overall, like scheduled meetings, no. They have had to take a hiatus from that just because we can't pull so many people together in a close quarters.
I figured.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let me just put this out there. When you are ready, very interested in resuming that and seeing what we can do. Other folks, other comments, and I think I interrupted somebody. I apologize.
I had a comment that kind of related to this discussion on perception. I previously lived on Parsons and Hanford, so it was a block from my house. And I think part of the challenge is just the perception even outside of the parking lot, as in, Freebus and Hanford, for example, going east-west are really like worn streets. And my hunch is if people who live in Marion Village, South German Village, utilize the store more, it would probably be more financially viable, but they probably are going to Brewery District. And it is kind of like this surrounding area that like the streets worn, cars are flying through there. The light for access is on like Freebus versus the intersection. And I feel like all of these things kind of create some like byproduct impact almost on the Parsons store. And even if you're living west of Parsons, in order to get there, if you live a little bit north, you're going down the alley, which is not a scenic tour, or you're going down Parsons, which might, be blocks of concrete with trash and plate everywhere. So it really kind of compounds the challenge in the parking lot. I think the inventory at that Kroger's is great. I have no issues finding what I need to find. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, what is the advocacy we might need to do around other like city related, like resealing the street or something on Moeller. And then I guess I just have a question, because I know that that's just a big comment, but is there any, I've always been curious, is there any way to like share any data on who does utilize that, like what store, like with like a heat map or something, like is majority of users like east of Parsons, and like is there any way to kind of gather that? I wondered that same question when Giant Eagle decided to announce their permanent closure, like who is really, like what parts of our Southside community are really utilizing what store. So I don't know if that is even a possibility to better understand, and just have more context on who's using the store, what parts of the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I know we do spotting maps and things like that, so we have access to the data. I'm not sure if that's, what level of shareability is there. So that's definitely something I can look into and then report back to Bob.
Okay. Thanks for listening to my comment.
One to your point, Sarah, living on Whittier, I can tell you that a lot of people do cross over Parsons to go to the Giant Eagle currently. On foot, right? So they are still drawing quite walking traffic from east of Parsons, with their Giant Eagle bags back and forth. One point to, the overall environment on Parsons, and Sarah, we can certainly work with the Public Services Committee on the access roads around Kroger. But I know, the litter issue has come up. Sherry Palmer was our Keep Columbus Beautiful contact. She has retired. I have not heard a lot of complaints specifically about Kroger and their litter issue. There is a gentleman that is currently monthly cleaning up from Whittier to Freebus. And it is on my list of things that I'd like to look at further, how we can improve the streetscape. I think litter does send a message that, people don't care. I'll put it that way. And because of COVID, there hasn't been the same level of engagement that we've had in the past. So these are all areas I think we should be looking at for this next year.
As the Southeast Lions, we actually meet near a parking lot and work with Columbus, Keep Columbus Beautiful, and do the litter cleanup, which we haven't done this year because a lot of our members are older. And with COVID, I can say that you guys aren't bad on your list. As you go up towards the auto parts store, you inherit some of the stuff from that Coda stop. You clean up a little better. The auto parts store is horrible, and I know it's the Coda stop's fault. But that corner is absolutely filthy all the time.
Well, and certainly CODA is another stakeholder we need to engage around this also.
Their trash cans overflow daily, and it just blows into everybody's everything.
I think there certainly are ways that we can help with what we're talking about with things like litter and, the cleanup of their own environs. To share something that Amy and I've talked about in the past, and I think it sounds like a small thing, but I think it will help. In general, when that store was built, one of the concessions, with it was there was a fair amount of landscaping put in. And you have some trees that have gotten big now, and the ginkgos are doing well. The ash trees are not, because of the emerald ash borer. And so you can't tell in winter, obviously, but during the summer, when you have trees that are 3/4 dead, that doesn't help with the environment either. And one of the things that we have talked about with Amy was identifying those trees and removing them, and just trying to clean up that area, make it look like indeed someone does care. So I think that will be helpful, I think. And there are bits and pieces of things like that.
And hopefully no more vacant parking lots will look better.
Yes, I think absolutely. Aaron, the development that you're likely to have, which I assume will be residential, and that's more people living right adjacent to the store. That's good, and will certainly look better. Would be huge. Any other discussion here? Or? Amy, you look like you were about to say something, but you don't.
I was just going to tell you that I talked with Julia in operations about the trees, and so she has made a note, because obviously during the hard winter time we don't have them out landscaping, but the group will be aware that when they go out. And then I also offered that you would join them in the event that they were not sure which trees we were referring to.
And being a tree guy, I'm happy to help. But we can, yeah. I mean, and it'll be easier. It'll be easier in the spring when the differences become more pronounced. But I can identify those trees now for someone, if whatever. One of the people on our meeting this morning is having some internet issues, so she hasn't been able to be verbal. But she was saying that access, to certain products that she was interested in sometimes was easier with Giant Eagle versus Kroger. So I think that the surveying about what people are interested in buying and what they are buying, and just getting more data and us sharing that data and getting the word out, and let's try to take advantage of the opportunity, if you will, or the need with the Giant Eagle going away.
Yeah, and we would encourage, so as you're talking to consumers, I can go into any store today and say, hey, can you get me this wheat bread? You don't currently have it. The store has the mechanism in which to get that product. I mean, as long as it's something that we have access to. If it's a Giant Eagle product, I can't get that for you. But if it's a product that we have access to in our warehouse, and it's just not something that's currently showing movement, and that's, for example, at the Parsons store, at the Logan store, whatever it might be, they can get that as a special order for that consumer. They can look to cut that in and then watch movement. If we only have one customer purchasing it, then we need to go back and we would be able to provide that as a special order. And so we have a way in which we do look for product for consumers. It's very, very turnkey. We have a distribution center in Delaware, Ohio, so it doesn't have to go very far. And they're constantly working with us to be able to get product to consumers as they need it. So I would definitely, Allegra, if you even want to shoot me a message with some of the apps, like the specifics of the product that you'd be looking for, I can definitely get it to the right folks at the store, and they can do the research and get back to you.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Thank you much. I must really commend you, Amy, for you've been so accessible, to me and Curtis and other folks, and we much appreciate that, because Kroger's important down here. And anyway, any other topics here that you want to talk about, folks, with Amy? Okay, if not, and Amy, if there's anything else you want to say, that's cool. But otherwise, I think we would like to keep this being a frequent, I don't mean, every day, but a more frequent, now that we're establishing this relationship and more folks are getting to know you and to know what's happening with Kroger, especially as we go through the next few months, which will be a time of change. This feels like a good time to stay in touch, on our end. So we pledge to do that.
Yeah,
do you have anything else,
absolutely.
Amy, you'd like to?
Yeah, absolutely. Keep me updated if there's another time you'd like another update. I'd be more than welcome to share and kind of keep everyone, aware of what we're doing. Obviously, there has been somewhat of a lull the past several months because we've just honestly been focused on getting product into the store and then ensuring that customers that are looking for items are able to get what they need through the pandemic. But like I said, we're getting back to business as usual and definitely, able to we'll be getting in a little deeper to work with the store and kind of gauge how things are going as we move into 2021 and make plans for a great future for the Parsons Avenue store. I am very, very hopeful. I talked to you before, Bob. This store, I love the store. So I want the store to be profitable, and I want all my friends there to be able to remain employed. And then I also thank all of you for what you do. As we've talked a lot, just that perception around Parsons and just everything that we can do. As Sarah even mentioned, just even with the city and how can we all collectively take a role in the betterment, and because folks are living there and they deserve to have a great place to work and live. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here today. Kathy, should we open it up just for any topics that people have?
Yes, please. Anyone? Allegra, if you need to type something, that's fine too. So we'll keep an eye on the chat.
I have two things, if you don't mind. Upcoming events we're hosting.
Please.
Great. So just wanted to extend an invite if you haven't seen it already, and I'll drop some links in the chat. But tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 12, we're hosting kind of what we're calling an all network forum where we've invited different stakeholders in the South Side to talk about housing stability, eviction prevention, healthy food access, good jobs, and community engagement, just really trying to provide some updates and information on different initiatives or programs that are happening in the South Side to kind of make further connections and help bring awareness to those things. So I'll send that to everyone. We have a great lineup of speakers to share information. And then next Thursday, we are hosting a small employer session specifically focused on mental health and well-being, really in response to employers sharing that their employees, like many people, are struggling with their mental health as the pandemic has created financial hardship and just a lot of other stressors in the house, like childcare while trying to work. And so we're having Centero mental health provider just provide some suggestions on employer-based practices and cultural components that employers could take on to help support employees in their well-being. And then we want to hear from attendees on what, we always want it to be a learning experience. So we're hosting both of those. I'll drop the Zoom RSVP link. So if you want to join, feel free, and I'd be happy to see you there.
Cool. Thank you so much, Sarah. Anybody else?
I had to check out at the end of the meeting last night in regards to the Giant Eagle site. And I know that I guess you had mentioned something about a letter of support to Pizzuti or whatever. I was wondering if you could help catch me up on what I missed. I'd appreciate it, Bob.
Well, I think, one of the things is we're going to have a trustee vote on it, and that'll be, I'll be able to use that on the 8th about the specific letter or anything, but Kathy or other folks,
Yeah,
you want to comment on that?
We'll discuss with the board whether the direction on voting should include some kind of a statement. So, you know, we haven't done that. I mean, we just started this, what, 2 months ago, I think. This is the first, I would say, commercial variance that is controversial. So, but there was some discussion in the meeting last night about how the business community does feel about this development. So there is perhaps an opportunity for additional statements of support. Maybe it's an outreach to our membership base to voice their own opinion directly. Anyway, we'll figure that out as a board. Since my last trustee email, there is another zoning hearing on Saturday for the brick building that sits behind the building at the northeast corner of Klein and Parsons, where a youth gym is proposed. The only variance is for parking, because that building has no parking of its own. So we'll get that one out as well. Anyway, I'm sorry, Aaron, I don't have anything more specific than that, because we don't have any authority to do anything more specifically until we run it by the board.
Aaron, if you want to share some of the stuff that we talked about in our text, feel free.
Well, I was just gonna say, so in full disclosure, Pizzuti asked me this morning if I could try to garner a letter of support from PAMA. So that's what I'm trying to bring forward, and could use your help. If
Okay.
anybody interested.
Yeah, we can definitely have something. I mean, yeah, we'll have after the vote.
Okay. Aaron, do you want to share any? You were talking about some specific businesses that you thought were supportive. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just.
No. So I know that Barcelona's supportive. The Hey Hey is supportive. I'm supportive. Jack's is predominantly handled now at the corner of Whittier and Bruck by his son James. James is very supportive. He actually put out a sign, one of the yard signs, and wrote the word fake on the rendering. He's very supportive.
So Aaron, let me chime in. So one of the things that would be good is for all these folks, and I was thinking about this morning, all these folks that are in favor of it, it doesn't have to be like long drawn out or anything like that. But I think if we got, Sue at the Hey Hey and the other folks, just to say they're in support of it, how is it going to affect their business? Obviously, with more, people, Hey Hey is going to hopefully do even better, just because there's going to be people to be able to walk and go down there. So I think that's going to be a key, and it would be nice if they could do that within the next couple of days. The only thing I ask is that they don't hand deliver them to my house, because I've had the third person come to my house last night to scare the shit out of me, that almost probably got shot because they were at my house at 10:30 last night. So yeah. So if
we're planning on doing that, so I can tell you that some businesses that I have talked to are scared of backlash. I can tell you that me and Sue from the Hey Hey are not.
Okay.
And I'm asking PAMA to take a position if I can get the support to do that also. Not be scared of the backlash. It's kind of like, it's our job to help the perception of Parsons. Well,
yep.
Well, certainly our business will be supportive as well. That should be fairly obvious through my vote last night. So.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you very much. And anything else, anybody? Oh, Allegra's asking where they should send the letters. Curtis, how do you want to handle that? Just want people to eat?
They can just email them to me. That's fine. Yeah, email's usually better than that way. If someone ever requested, I can just forward it versus having to scan.
If anybody wants to drop something, they can put it in my mailbox at my office. I'm not going to tackle the postmaster. I don't care. So you can give my office address as well if somebody wants a physical address.
Okay, cool. Cool. Thank you. Anything else, folks?
I put Curtis's email address and Amy's email addresses, and Sarah put her email address all in the and her events in the chat. So I'll pull out anything that's, you know, not just pleasantries into and post that with the YouTube video yet this morning.
Excellent. And we'll get that on our website. Cool.
Yeah, and let's get the email
All right.
out, Bob, on this probably sooner than later, once you get the zoning recording posted.
Yep. Anything else?
You all.
If not, thank you, folks. Thank you so much for your time today. I think the discussion on Kroger was interesting and important, and certainly the Pizzuti project is something that's a big one for us here. But anyway, thanks for your support, and I hope your holidays are great. And thank you much.
Hey, Bob, I don't know if you regularly do this, but if you could send a kind of a more formal email to Amy, thanking her for, you know, joining us today, that would be excellent.
Absolutely. It's a great idea.
Okay, thanks.
Will do.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.